Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest Tempo Strategy Wild Meta Snapshot breakdown for Forged in the Barrens. Balance Patch 22.2 has arrived, and it included a wide range of buffs and nerfs aimed at addressing issues in the standard format. At first glance, the patch didn't look like it was going to be very impactful for Wild, but looks can be deceiving. The nerfs to Crab Rider, First Day of School, Refreshing Spring Water, and Hysteria have all had an impact on major archetypes, and they have completely shifted the balance of power at the top tiers. With this patch, much of the impact from the Dark Moon Races mini-set has been erased. While we still have Forged in the Barrens, the new core set, and a few key cards from the Great Unnerfing that have made an impact since then, the Wild meta today more closely resembles the early Dark Moon Fair meta than it does the early meta from Forged in the Barrens. So who are the big winners and losers of the changes, and which decks are the best ones to play today? Come join our Wild meta experts as we break down the format's latest developments. Let's start at the top of Tier 1 with the biggest winner of the balance changes and the undisputed king of Wild, Darkglare Warlock. We've seen a reversal of fortune for Darkglare in the past few months, with top rivals like Odd Rogue, Tax Paladin, and Flamewaker Mage all seeing nerfs that basically deleted those decks from the game entirely. The remaining top decks can struggle with Darkglare's breakneck pace in developing massive early threats, swinging boards against aggro with brooms, and closing out games against control with burst damage combos and low-theb blocks. Darkglare Warlock is the deck to beat at top legend and is only becoming more and more powerful at lower ranks, so no matter what deck you're playing, you need to have a plan against it if you want to survive ladder. Handbuff Paladin is the only other deck that can challenge Darkglare's dominant meta position in Tier 1, and it remains in Tier 1 despite nerfs to Crab Rider and First Day of School. Handbuff Paladin is still more than capable of burying most opponents in an avalanche of efficient minions, AoE buffs, and relentless card draw. Nerfed Crab Rider still does a fine job of helping to recover the board along with Animated Broomstick and Blade Master Summero, so it's almost impossible for any aggro deck to hold control of the board against Handbuff for long. To fight back against Darkglare Warlock, top legend Handbuff pilots have added Lord Barov to help clear the board, and Bluegill Warrior to help threaten fast lethals when the Darkglare player cuts their health total a little too close. Against almost everything else, Handbuff Paladin still has the advantage, so it continues to be a rock-solid deck for climbing in the post-nerf meta. Darkglare Warlock and Handbuff Paladin are the top dogs of the meta, but what happened to the rest of Tier 1? Where is Flamewaker Mage? What about Secret Mage, Reno Priest, and any other deck that could compete for a top spot? In a post-nerf meta where Darkglare and Handbuff are the top dogs, the gulf between the best and the rest is as wide as it's ever been. Let's take a closer look at the handful of decks that still hold a competitive spot in Tier 2. To start, we have Mizaki Mage, which has taken over as the top mage combo deck to beat. After the nerf to Refreshing Spring Water, Flamewaker Mage lost a lot of its early game combo potential and its ability to chain together cards without using mana. As a result, many top players have abandoned Flamewaker completely in favor of Mizaki, which doesn't rely on long spellcasting trains to reach its full potential. Instead, Mizaki Mage draws cards and stalls with Frost Nova and Ice Block until it finds the combo of Sorcerer's Apprentice and Mizaki, Master Duelist, along with enough burn to finish the opponent off. Mizaki Mage is a bit slow compared to Flamewaker Mage in its heyday, but the combo is consistent enough to beat any deck that doesn't have enough speed to beat it down or enough disruption to stop it. Mizaki may have taken Flamewaker's mantle as king of the combo decks, but it has not taken over as the top mage deck overall. That title has passed on to Secret Mage, which has a classic combination of board dominance, disruption, card draw, and over-the-top damage that allows it to dominate decks in the lower tiers. It may struggle against Darkglare Warlock and Handbuff Paladin, but it still has a fantastic matchup spread against most other decks, and it continues to be a gatekeeper against players that are trying to climb out of the diamond ranks. Reno Priest also holds a strong spot in the meta, despite a nerf to Hysteria that weakens its position against the two best decks. Like Secret Mage, Reno Priest has all the tools to bully lower tier decks, including top tier anti-aggro stall, an inevitable combo win condition, and powerful Highlander cards that give it solid answers against almost any threat. Reno Priest does continue to have weaknesses against fast combo decks, but with Flamewaker Mage dropping out of the meta and the slower Mizaki Mage taking its place, Reno Priest has better odds to draw the disruption it needs to fight back. Rounding out our tier 2, we have Odd Paladin, which is one of the most consistent aggro decks this format has ever seen. Odd Paladin's relentless board flooding and AoE buffs tend to overwhelm other aggro decks, while also challenging late-game control and combo decks to have enough removal to keep up with the pressure. Unlike most other Paladin decks, Odd Paladin was completely unaffected by nerfs to Crab Rider and First Day of School, and while it might not be favored against Dark Glare or Hand Buff, it still has a strong matchup spread against the rest of the meta. Overall, the recent balance patch certainly had an impact on the meta, but it might not have been the change we were hoping for. Dark Glare Warlock has returned to its seat of power, and aside from Hand Buff Paladin, all of its former rivals have been laid to waste by recent nerfs and trends. So what can we expect moving forward? There is still the upcoming mini set on the horizon, and we could see the meta adjust to Dark Glare's dominance in ways that are difficult to predict. Is there a dark horse archetype with the potential to rise up and break the format wide open? We'll see how things go in the coming weeks. In the meantime, check out the full report over on our website for all the details, and as always, thanks for watching.